It is very unfortunate that I come to you and speak to you on this matter. Shortly after midnight, we had a call to 911 center advising of shots fired at 1199 West 37th Street, AC Evans Street, which is where we are now. Officers arrived. They found a family already trauma alerting their 7-year-old kid to St. Mary's Hospital. Officers also escorted and caravan that family to St. Mary's Hospital. At the hospital, the child was pronounced dead on arrival. I believe they had a chance to try to work him, but the child did not make it. The mother also suffered gunshot wounds, and what we know through investigations that an assailant, at least one, approached this resident behind me, and on the east side of the resident fired multiple rounds inside of a residence where the mother, the father, and 2 kids were sleeping. The bullets struck the 7-year-old a few times, and it struck the mother once. The father and the child, who were all sleeping in the same bedroom, were not struck, another child. And that's all I know right now. I can tell you now, detectives are working some leads that they got from cameras in the neighborhood and follow up on previous incidents. Right now, I have nothing further to add to this.
Do we know if this was a random shooting yet, or still investigating?
It's not a random shooting. I can tell you that now. It's basically specific to that apartment. The assailant went to that apartment to inflict harm.
Did the Riviera Police Department respond to this location earlier in the afternoon?
Yesterday. Yes, ma'am.
And can you elaborate on what you responded for?
Basically, it was more of a disturbance between a group of people at this location.
Between family or between 2 different neighbors?
Between families. I believe the family in question was also involved in that disturbance.
The family with another apartment, you mean?
That may be the case. Yes, ma'am.
And has that person been spoken with?
Yes, ma'am. I cannot say if that person was spoken to, but a number of residents in the area have been spoken to. We do not know anything about the assailant right now. Nothing at all. We have follow-up leads, investigations on putting us in the right place, but as far as what we know, we do not know anything about him. And still ongoing investigation, sir.
Do you have an exact number of how many times the 7-year-old was shot?
I do not have that information available. I know he was shot more than once.
Rounds were fired into a specific apartment.
That's correct, ma'am.
Right now, what you know is that the assailant shot in that particular apartment, aiming to harm someone in that apartment.
Yes, ma'am. The assailant shot into that apartment with the intention to harm someone in that apartment, and we do not believe the intended victim was a child.
Are you getting cooperation from the folks at Riviera?
It's an ongoing investigation. We have some information.
Going back to that earlier dispute, officers that arrived at the scene earlier, do they have any indication that it was going to lead to something, as unfortunate as this?
I don't know. I can tell you, when a child is involved, we immediately think this is really an emergency. I can tell you the officers involved, they felt it was necessary to not wait for fire rescue and speed down Barack Obama Highway with the family in the car and help escort them, caravan them to St. Mary's Hospital.
Well, I'm speaking about the earlier incident when you responded earlier in the afternoon
Okay.
to the dispute. Was there any indication that this was going to turn into a violent situation?
No, not at all. None at all. It was more of a talking, verbal dispute. Nothing as far as no threats made, as far as I know of, no weapons seen, anything like that. violent act.
The shooting, the assailant.
We do not know anything about the assailant right now, where he lives or she lives, where they are, whether they're male, female, white, black. We don't know much about the assailant. It's an ongoing investigation at this moment.
Do you have a description of a vehicle that they have left in?
We do not. Let me clarify that. We do not have that information to release. Again, we have ongoing investigation that we cannot release all the information we have as far as what we're looking at.
Do you currently have anyone in questioning or in custody?
No, ma'am.
So there is a shooter at large who targeted a family who was sleeping, potentially knowing that child were in that house, and they are at large right now.
That's correct. That's correct. We and just to repeat what you said, you're saying the assailant targeted a location where potential children were inside. Now we do not know whether or not that person knew there were children inside. We can't say that. However, we do know that this particular location was a targeted location.
For what reason?
It's ongoing information right now, ongoing investigation.
Do you know how long the family was living at this location?
I was told just about 2 years.
Just to clarify, it's a family of 4, including the child guy?
That's correct, a family of 4.
Does this location, this residence, get called here often? Are police called this location here?
I can say it this way, ma'am. This residence is not a stranger to law enforcement. We've have responded here before.
To the same family or just to this location?
Both. To the family and to this location. That's correct.
How is the mother doing? Can we update us?
She's in good condition from what I'm told.
Do you know where in the body either one of the victims were shot?
I do not know. I was not at the hospital. Based on what I was told by the investigators, the child took critical wounds in the upper torso area.
And you mentioned police responded extreme urgency once they learned that there was a child involved. Can you give us a
Well, I don't want to say once they learned a child was involved. Anytime we have any shootings, we respond with extreme urgencies. Let me be clear about that. There was no need. The point I was making, and we have done this many times before, that we trauma alert victims on scene directly from police car directly to the hospital. Or we have allowed sometimes people in the streets load the victim up themselves and start running to the hospital, and versus stopping them, we allow them to continue to run, and what our police get involved in to make sure we can provide the blue light escort right through the traffic light and provide the most expedient service as quickly as possible to the hospital.
that took place last night?
That's correct, shortly after midnight. Yes, ma'am. First, if you know anything, please, you can either call the Riviera Beach Police Department. That number will be 561-845-4123. We always would want you to call Crime Stoppers, 1-800-458-4577, 1-800-458-TIPS, TIPS. Also, we have amped up our police services around the clock. We have beefed up our patrol, day shift and night shift. We have beefed up our tactical units, and our undercover investigators are out here making control buys and control undercover stings. So you will see some enforcement action taking place in the near future on a lot of targeted bad guys in this city and around this city, because we're working jointly with task force around the area. That includes local law enforcement, sheriff's office, and federal task forces.
And that was planned before this incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And just so I'm clear, employee and the mother were transported in a police vehicle.
Not in a police vehicle, a personal vehicle escorted by police. Yes, ma'am.